And with that out of the way, we can go right ahead and look at Luka Doncic's numbers in the finals because they are something that I wanted to sort of bring a little bit of attention to because they are insane. Look at those stats. Those are like my career numbers. 31 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game, 3 steals per game, along with 51% from the field and 38% from 3. Obviously, I mean, like, what can't you ask from Luka? Like, he's doing absolutely everything in that he possibly can in this game. He's the only player on the Dallas Mavericks who has hit multiple three-pointers in this final series. That is horrible. That is really bad coming from the Dallas Mavericks, and it's like you really can't ask for a better performance and a better games coming in from Luka Dončić in these finals. He's been the only player on the Dallas Mavericks that has shown up to hoop. Every other player on this team has struggled immensely, and one of the biggest culprits is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie has been horrible the entire final series. He is only averaged 14 points per game, which is well below the regular season average and well below the average that he's been having in these postseasons. He's only averaged 2.5 rebounds. You don't really expect him to get that many rebounds. 4 assists. Now, the assists have dropped considerably, considering how a lot of the times in these games between, whether it be the Timberwolves, whether it be the Clippers, he was always the one getting double-teamed, and he would create the open looks for the other players and thus rack up a lot of assists, and now he's only averaging 4, which was honestly a common trend in how they were able to shut down the entire Mavericks offense and sort of prevent Luka Dončić and Kyrie from passing the ball, because Luka in Game 1 of the NBA Finals had a career-low 1 assist, and that was really the only bad spot on his game because everything else was fantastic. Now, aside from Kyrie Irving over here, everything else is not so fantastic. Now you could see that I put free throw percentage over there I keep pointing the wrong way. I put 3-point percentage all the way on the top right over there, free throw percentage, because everywhere that he's shooting from the field is bad. He's shooting 35% from the field, like, as a whole, and he's shooting 0% from 3. That's right. He has not hit a single 3 in the finals yet. It's 2 games already, and he has not hit a single 3. That is really, really bad, and we talk about how Luka Dončić every single time in the finals and in the not in the finals, but every single time in the postseason, he needs help. Like, he does everything by himself. He puts up all of these great stats by himself, yet he doesn't get the help that he needs in order to win the game and the series in the end. And it would seem like this right here, this little story between him and the Celtics, it's no different, because these numbers, 31 points per game and 10 rebounds and 6 assists, but 0 wins to show for it, it's crazy. Like, that is really bad. And the only other time that, like, and honestly, like, this has happened recently that I could think of is when it's when LeBron was in the finals against the Golden State Warriors. This is like a LeBron against the Warriors performance right here. Like, the only difference really is that Kyrie actually showed up in that finals, but it didn't matter because the Golden State Warriors were just that good. Now, LeBron, he led the entire team in every single statistical category that you could think of. And going into the postseason of the finals, he almost led in every single statistical category. And similar to how Luka Dončić, he leads in every single stat going into the finals, and he also leads in points. He doesn't lead in rebounds because Jason Tatum's leading in that department, I believe. He also doesn't, but he leads in points, which is like really the important thing. Like, that's the most important thing in playoff basketball, in my opinion, is, other than defense, it's putting the ball in the hoop, because you have to do that eventually, and, the best teams and in the close games and in the close situations, you have to be able to put the ball in the hoop. And you have to be able to do it over anyone. And that being the most important thing, Luka Dončić is doing that very, very well, very consistently. And that's really not really the only important stat, but that is like the biggest stat, where it's like he's leading the Mavericks in points, right? And he's leading the rest of the finals in points, because he's scoring 30 points per game every single time. But below him, every single other player is Boston Celtics players. So it would go Luka as the number one leading scorer, then it would be someone like Jaylen Brown, then it would be Drew, then it would be Kristaps, and things of that nature. And it would take a while up until they get onto, or a player from the Mavericks pops up in this list. And that cannot happen. And I honestly can't say that this has happened with any of LeBron's teams. Actually, you know what? I fib. This has happened several times with a lot of LeBron's teams. Like, LeBron's teams and his experience in the finals, it's honestly a little bit similar to this, because he would go up, and even LeBron's first ever finals appearance could be similar to this, but I'm not going to get into that too much. Essentially, this is a LeBron performance. He is doing everything in his power and everything that he can to will his team to win. It's just his team isn't good enough to compete against this Boston Celtics team. And it's just too much for them. And it's what's really, even crazier to me is, I don't have this stat up yet, but Jason Tatum, he's not been playing well at all in the finals either. He is shooting he's shooting the worst field goal percentage ever recorded in finals history when a player has taken 150 plus shots. He's shooting the worst out of anyone ever. This is worse than Patrick Ewing when he was in the finals. This was worse when, oh my gosh, who else did he beat on this list? I just know it's one of the worst shooting displays ever in finals history. And it's like, you cannot have that when you're Jason Tatum. Okay, here's this list. He shot worse than Patrick Ewing in the finals. He shot worse than J.R. Smith in the finals. He shot worse than Kevin Love in the finals, who are two of LeBron's teammates, by the way. He's shooting worse than Sam Perkins, worse than Jason Kidd, worse than Rip Hamilton, worse than Kenyon Martin, worse than Robert Reed, worse than Dirk Nowitzki in 2006, I believe. And it's again, this is really, really bad. And this is the lowest field goal percentage in NBA Finals history, minimum of 150 field goal attempts since 1980. This is a really bad stat to lead in, and the fact that, your J.R. Smith shot better than you, and Kevin Love shot better than you, who, again, both played on LeBron's team at the same time, by the way. And the fact that the Celtics have been able to win is even crazier, because I've said how bad the Mavericks were shooting before, but not Luka. Jason Tatum is shooting worse than practically all of them, but he's on the winning side of this entire thing. So it's just a little bit of an interesting thing to bring up, the fact that this is the awful shooting display that he is having, and this is how he responds in his second NBA Finals, which, to be fair, though, he is averaging, the best, some good all-around numbers. His rebounding is good. His assists have surprisingly been a lot better than they usually are. But, I'm not going to bubble wrap him and say that he's having a great finals performance, because in the reality, he's doing a lot less than what is expected of him. But that's basically all that I have for this second segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the third segment, where I talk about Jokic joining the Serbian national team. So I will be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned for that I will be right back. So be sure to stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free.